Good evening. It is July 7th, 2025, Monday. Don Pelayo here. Um, so there have been a couple of disturbing things over the last 24 hours that I've seen in the media. Wanted to kind of talk to you about it a little bit this evening. The first thing, so many of you have probably saw this, that they have come out saying that there's no Epstein client list after all, that apparently it was all made up. No list, nothing to see here. Go about your business. Um, I don't know anybody, Republican or Democrat, that buys that. After everything that we've heard about in the media, everything that all the news stories we've seen over the past several years, to just all of a sudden say, "Oh, nothing to see here," that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. Um, we've Where are the men that were taking advantage of these girls? Um, that needs to come out. Those men need to be charged, have charges pressed against them. They need to be put on trial. And it just feels like this is getting swept under the rug, trying to cover up a bunch of wealthy people's misdeeds. And I don't care, but this isn't a party issue for me. I don't care if the Republicans, Democrat, I don't care. I don't care. They need, this was a serious situation, and there need to be charges brought against these people. So Trump, Bondi, Bongino, they're all going to have to get their head out of their ass. It's kind of the way I feel about it. The answers that we've gotten on that are not good enough for me personally. I don't think they're good enough for anyone. I haven't heard of anyone, Republican or Democrat, that likes the answers that we're getting out of this. So, um, they're going to have to come out with more than that. Anyway, to the second, and although the Epstein thing is important, and I think that these girls need justice, in terms of our nation and the direction our nation is headed, I'm getting a little bit concerned. I'm hearing a lot of things out of the Trump administration that I'm not really behind. I'm not supportive of. Trump is. I feel like the Republicans right now are doing a lot of gambling. They're gambling with our nation, with our financial solvency. They're gambling with our futures, and I don't like that. I've been hearing a lot here lately about cryptocurrency from the Trump administration. Trump had talked about establishing a Bitcoin reserve. Personally, I don't think we need a Bitcoin reserve. I think we just need more actual real assets. I would like our government to build our oil reserve, our gold and silver, reserves, metals that are used in war time. That's the sort of stuff that I think our country should be, building a supply of. Bitcoin is not going to do us a damn bit of good if we have a major international crisis. So Bitcoin, I'm sorry, I'm not a big believer in crypto. I have dabbled in crypto a little bit, but to hear them talking about strengthening the dollar by establishing stable coins, cryptocurrencies, this is becoming harebrained. And the Treasury Secretary was out there today talking about that, and I'm just like, no, 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 no. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm they are quickly losing my confidence right now, and I'm feeling more a bigger impetus to go out and buy hard assets now than I was feeling. And I've already added a good portion of my, I've got a good portion of my IRA in gold and silver. Um, I may be gradually adding some because my IRA, it's they're ETFs, they're index funds that track the price of gold and silver. So it's really paper gold and silver. I do have some physical silver, but I want to add more. I definitely want to add more to what I've got. Hearing that out of their mouths today makes me want to go to the coin shop and buy some more silver. So I'm I'm not real excited about what I'm hearing out of the Trump administration right now in terms of the cryptocurrency thing. Let individual investors, determine that market. I don't think the government needs to be in that at all. I don't feel like the federal government needs to be meddling with that at all. I would much rather have the government establishing an emergency reserve of food, big food supplies, oil, energy sources, precious metals, rare earths, all that kind of stuff. I'm okay with that. Cryptocurrency, no. I'm just, you know, I think the government should be focused on things that we would need in a time of international problems, like a war or something like that. And that's where I fall on that. So I'm I voted for Trump all three times. He's gotten a little off the rails for my taste, and maybe it's just I am very conservative in some regards. I did not like Trump going after Canada and Greenland and all that mess. I want him focused on things here. I don't want him dabbling in cryptocurrencies. Most of the time, I'm pretty supportive of Trump. When it comes to Democrats, there's very little that I agree with the Democrats on. um, there are a handful of things that I think the Democrats are right about. The Democrats have supported lifting the cap on Social Security. I think that needs to be done. I think that's one of the policies that they're right about. There's not a lot though. I do skew more Republican than I do Democrat for sure, especially when it comes to like social issues, things like that. It's not even close. But the last few days have been a little bit disturbing for me in terms of the Trump administration, and I hope I'm trying to put my faith in the leaders that we have, and I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like Trump is just jumping at whatever fad is popular, and it's like I would much rather have a gold reserve than a Bitcoin reserve. That's just me. So, anyway, the dollar has been losing value. I don't know how much you guys have paid attention to it, but our dollar has been losing value pretty rapidly this year, especially if you compare it against other currencies. If you look at how the dollar has performed against the euro this year, we've dropped quite a bit against the euro. The euro's gotten a lot stronger versus the dollar. Uh, you know, that may not sound like a big deal, and in some ways it may wind up helping us have a weaker dollar in terms of our trade imbalances because it makes imports more expensive. It may and along with the tariffs, it's going to make imports more expensive, which will make our products seem more reasonable priced, not only here but also overseas. So people may want more American goods, although it's like, what does America make anymore? So, I don't know. I'm a little bit today. The last few days have not instilled a lot of confidence in me, and I feel like I need to go to the coin shop and load up on some silver. I could buy some gold. Gold's a little bit pricey these days, but you can buy gold by the gram, and I think that's relatively affordable if you buy it by the gram. I tend to try to buy it in ounces, things in ounces. Silver. I'll buy 1 ounce silver coins Gold, though, an ounce of gold right now is like $3,400. I'm not, so they do sell them. They do sell gold in half ounce, quarter ounce, tenth of an ounce. The 10, I could do the few, the tenth of an ounce coins maybe. But even those are going to be about $400 because they do add a little extra onto the, you're paying a little bit above spot on that. So that's still like $400 for the tenth of an ounce coin. So you can buy them by the gram, and I think that comes out a little bit more, reasonable in terms of individual purchases. But you're probably paying more of a charge up, in terms of above spot. So anyway, I am really just wanting our politicians to start really thinking about the problems that we have. I don't feel like they're really taking this debt situation seriously. And this is across the board. This is everybody. This is our entire government in Washington D.C. I don't feel like anyone in Washington D.C. is taking the debt seriously. They just don't seem to be too concerned about it, and that's not a good thing. I think the United States is really beginning to lose its luster, and if we keep going this same direction, we're not going to be the world reserve currency anymore. Um, I already hear a lot of people want to just leave America altogether. American citizens are not happy being here because it's just so difficult to have a decent quality of life here. Um, we got some significant problems to deal with, and it's one thing to move. Like a lot of people want to move to Europe, and it's like, well, if you move to Europe, you have to think that you need to work because I'm going to tell you right now, it's almost impossible to get a job in Europe. They do. Spain does have a visa for people that are working remotely, doing remote work. So if you have some skills where you could have a job or have a job where you could work remotely, you may be able to do that and work remotely from Spain, and live there. Um, there's trade-offs. People think, oh, it's Europe is. There's a lot of trade-offs. It's like when I lived in Europe, I lived in Spain for a couple of years. Pretty much everyone there lives in apartments, so there's not many people that have yards. That doesn't really exist all that much. Um, so you're going to be living in a 6 to 800 square foot apartment. The good thing about their apartments is that the walls are solid. You don't hear between apartments over there that the walls are built solid, so you don't hear anything. Um, Generally speaking. Um, I do like that everything is so close together that you can just walk out of your apartment building and there's a bakery and there's a butcher shop and there's a little grocery market and it's like all right around your apartment building. So you can kind of get your stuff real easy on a day-to-day basis. They do have supermarkets too, but they weren't used as quite as much. Um I do think in terms of socialization, they're just more close knit over there. Over here in America, it's like we just kind of go and do our thing. We're kind of closed off here in the United States a little bit. They are more community, you know, are a little bit more close knit as communities over there. Um, of course, the healthcare thing. As an American, you would probably have to get private healthcare until you got to a point where you were paying taxes and things like that over in Spain. Um, Once you start paying taxes and all of that, you can get on the public system at some point. But for the most part, Americans residing in Europe, you're generally going to have your own private health insurance for some time. Although even their private health insurance is a heck of a lot cheaper than our health insurance, the private health insurance here in the United States. So it's still fairly affordable. Um, I don't know. I've been thinking about retiring to Spain. It's something that I'm keeping in the back of my mind. It may happen. It just kind of depends on a number of factors, really. It's going to depend on my health for when I get to that point. Whether my parents are still here, whether what's going on with my daughters, my younger brother. So I have a lot of factors to think about, family issues to think about in terms of that. But I'm really considering it at least for a time. If I went over there, I don't know if I would retire there permanently. It would probably be the type of situation where I'd be over there for maybe 3 or 4 years and then come back home. Um, I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot to think about. Um, I am by myself. I don't have a wife or anything. I do have two daughters, but they're living with their mothers, and by that point they'll have their own lives going on, and it's just kind of, well, what am I going to do, you know, myself on my own? It's a lot to think about. Anyway, just wanted to give y'all a little update about what I was hearing about in the news today. A couple very concerning things, really. I'm hearing from the administration right now. We need some answers on the Epstein case, and we've got to get this obsession with cryptocurrency in its right place. It was only 3 or 4 years ago that cryptocurrency was considered very speculative, and now they're gambling the health of the United States economy on cryptocurrency. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think it's a harebrained idea. I really do. Anyway, you guys have a good evening. I will be talking more probably tomorrow. This is the Don Palayo checking out.